get started. I'm late for my own meeting, starting on time, ending on time.
That's okay.
Well, we've all been here since about 8, and you all showed up about 8:26. Good morning and welcome. I'm Mary Lammer. I'm the Executive Director of Ridgefield Main Street. Thank you for being here. Happy New Year. We have Nick back, and just a little reminder, we are recording this. We've had some requests from merchants and people who cannot attend. Hey, is there a way we can record that? So we are doing this, and just to let you know that's happening. So thanks to Nick for being here, and we'll get this up on the website with the other ones that have been recorded. Glad it's January and a new year, and it's going to be a very exciting one for Main Street. I think that most importantly, we have had elections for the new board officers. So Renee Surface is now our new chair. Mike Bomar will be continuing as immediate past pick chair. Our treasurer is Jill Brown. Our secretary is Stan Okinaka, and vice chair is Renee. So really excited about this. And some exciting things are happening, fueled by, I've been talking about the strategic planning and how that's going to help us with a new and different type of work plan, and we are in the process of completing that. I have a fairly large annual report that I submit to our state coordinators, including the budget, including the work plan, so the board and all of the committees have worked very diligently to work from the strategic plan to develop those tactics, those projects that will help us achieve those goals that we've defined in our plan. So we're really excited about the projects and things we have coming up. We have announced a March wine walk, and we will have one in November also. So more details will be coming about that. And I think that might be it for right at this moment. I will remember what I haven't said and come back up later. But this morning, we are pleased to welcome Chris Poppert from the Ridgefield Family Resource Center and Wendy Lehner from Compassion 360. I don't know, do we want to go one after the other? Are you together? How would you like?
We're going to stand up there together and go one after another. But
Love it.
Yeah.
Okay, welcome. Thank you.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Happy New Year. My name is Wendy, and I'm the director of Compassion 360. I am not a professional speaker, so I will just speak from my heart, and I did write a few notes just in case I get a little weird. So I'll start and talk to you a little bit about our charity. So the charity was founded around, I think it was 2015 or about 10 years ago. And it was started by a group of women that were affiliated with the Nazarene Church. They felt like they had a lot of resources to share, and they really wanted access to the people that needed it. And they felt like the best way of doing that was through the school district. But they realized that in order for them to have a partnership or a relationship with the school district, they really just needed to form a nonprofit charity. So they filed for that nonprofit status, and then they started doing events. Some of you that have been here for a while may remember their free healthcare days, and I mean that was like huge, dental and all kinds of stuff. And I actually am a nurse, so I became a volunteer through that, and that's how I came to start volunteering on a regular basis for Compassion 360. Part of what they did is they started the Ridgefield Family Resource Center. So that was the first thing that they did, and their ability to try to partner with the school district. And for some of you that have been here for a while, you may remember, well, I've been here for 45 years, and I always call that building down the street the bus garage. So they started the Family Resource Center in the bus garage. And so they had clothes and food, and most of the people that were coming there were being referred there through the counseling staff at the schools, and they were actually pretty successful. The good news is that the school district then decided that, okay, we get it, this is something that's really needed in our community, so they said we can do this. So the Ridgefield Family Resource Center got referred back over to the school district, which then left Compassion 360 an opportunity to say, okay, well, good, that was successful. Who else in our community can we help and serve? So we started concentrating a little bit more on young families that have toddlers that aren't in the school district yet. And then we also have focused heavy on the senior population in our community. So, let me just go to my, okay. So today our charity serves about 200 people a week in our food and clothes closet. So about 80% of those folks are from Ridgefield. The rest of them are from surrounding areas like a few from Battleground, a lot from La Center, because La Center does not have a food closet or any services there. So Compassion 360 considers La Center as part of their service area. And then we do have a lot of people that come from Woodland, so much so, and there are a lot of them are focused on the Hispanic population in Woodland. So we went ahead this last year and opened up a secondary food closet in Woodland that serves a variety of different folks, but heavy on the Hispanic side, just so those folks don't have barriers to travel into Compassion 360 here in Ridgefield. So we are what I consider a connections charity. So we invite people to come in and actually shop in our room to get the things that they need. So they're not given things that they don't necessarily need, but they can shop. It allows us to make a little bit of a connection with people. Sometimes it doesn't happen right off the bat, but last week on Thursday, I was able to connect with a lady that she's living in a garage. There's no heat. So, I mean, I wouldn't have known that without visiting with her. And then we were able to send out blankets. We got some, those heavy curtains to keep some of the heat in the garage instead of exiting through the one window that's in there. And then I drop shipped a space heater to her via Amazon. We also, last week, I arranged to have a clothes dryer delivered to a woman that only speaks English, so I was able to use my in-house interpreter, and we figured out that that was what her biggest need was, so we were able to find a used clothes dryer, and I have a team that will go out and install it wherever she lives, because it doesn't speak English, but my interpreter has now created a relationship with her and has her phone number. And so we do a lot of different one-off things like that with people that are actually just there visiting, trying to get food. We're also known in our charity as the charity that does a lot of big events. So our biggest events are what we all call the closet share. So we fill an entire gym filled with used clothing, and we give that out usually in the spring and in the fall. 400 seems to be our magic number of 2023. I don't know why that was, but we gave out over 400 full garbage bags out at our last closet share to new to them clothes in the community. We also, we do Easter baskets, mainly focusing on the foster program of parents that are providing foster care mainly here in Ridgefield. We also are the organizers of the Back to School Bash. This last couple years we've done it, well last year we did it at Davis Park, and we gave over, again that 400 number, we gave 400 brand new backpacks out to kids that live in Ridgefield, and we sponsor that event, but we work really closely with the Ridgefield Farmers Market Association and the Schools Resource Center that Chris will talk about in a minute. So we're able to, through our partnerships with them, fill those backpacks filled with school supplies. So, and then we do we're kind of still resting from our crazy Thanksgiving box giveaway. We also build and send out 400 full Thanksgiving meals. Most of those folks were from Ridgefield. We did collect zip codes, and it's mainly from Ridgefield, but a lot of people that didn't need a box, but they knew someone that did in our outlying areas. We encourage people to come and get a box and then deliver it to someone that's like a shut-in or they know that they need it. So we were able to partner with the Lions Club this year, but that's a huge event for us. It's not easy to build that many full Thanksgiving meals. This year for Christmas, we don't do an actual special event, but it always seems to morph into special events, meaning that our 2 open days on Thursday and December was the 14th, December 14th, and then December 21st. We started accepting new gift donations. Of course, everyone wants to give toys, but we're really trying hard to make people understand that, you know, if you're a mom that has a couple kids and you have a small Christmas budget, every single time you're going to use that money on your kids. So when you go to your family gathering and your mother or your sister gives you a gift, you have nothing to give. So we try really hard to help women and even kids that come shop and get a gift for other people. So we kind of, you know, like lotion sets, and so we really push those kind of donations. Again, we serve about 200 people a week in our food closets, but those 2 particular dates, we also got a large donation of hams, and we purchased a bunch of Christmas-friendly food. So I did write the number down. We ended up serving on the 14th 353 people, and on the 14th we served 372 people. So that was our ability to allow people that live in Ridgefield, again, most of them were from Ridgefield, to have a gift for a loved one or a gift for their kids. So super excited about that. We do also support a housing stability program. So we, this last year in 2022, we were able to successfully get a grant from the city of Ridgefield. And so we were able to create our housing stability program. With that money, we gave out, I think, around 20 people got help and assistance, all that live in Ridgefield. And then in 2023, this last year, we were successful in getting a private donor, and I think we had around 12,000. And so we had, let's see, 22 people that live in Ridgefield, and we spent over $12,000 allowing these people to stay in their homes due to temporary issues like lost wages because of illness, or they lost their job and then got a new job, but that uncomfortable month where they didn't have income. I mean, there are people that live in Ridgefield that are literally a paycheck away from disaster. So even if their car that they use for transportation to get to school or to their work fails or has a problem, and they have to spend their rent or utility money to repair their car so they can actually get to work and continue to work. Those are the folks that we're here to help. So we give out just housing stability grants. So we're pretty proud that, again, 22 people in the city of Ridgefield got that help up and were able to stay in their homes and not get eviction notices. We can't do all of this alone, of course. So we do affiliate ourselves with the Ridgefield Lions Club. We are buddies with the library. We tend to do some book things with them. The American Legion here in Ridgefield provides a service for us that we absolutely treasure. They come and once a week and we sort clothes from all these donations, and if people don't understand that, you know, we're not the Goodwill or the dump, then they come every week and remove all those bags of unneeded or unwanted clothes and take them to textile recycling for us. So our partnership with them is amazing. Of course, we're continuing to be best friends with the Ridgefield Resource Center. Chris and I work really close together on meeting the population needs. We also formed a new relationship this year. I just wanted to mention them with the people at the pet food store up here, Wouldn't You? I think it's called Wouldn't You? And they sell this amazing expensive pet food. We have, and we're on target in 2024 to give out about $6,000 in pet food to our hungry pets in Ridgefield. We find that, especially senior citizens, they will for sure always buy pet food for their pet before they'll buy food for themselves. So for our ability to help them with that pet food and reduce their budget is just amazing. It's kind of a silent thing that people don't really talk about, but seniors sometimes that's their only companion. So we're excited about that new affiliation. So, okay, so with that, I'm going to let Chris talk a little bit.
A little bit, Mary Kay. You're going to have to cut me off. Me too.
That's fine.
Yeah. Good morning. I'm Chris Poppert. I coordinate the Family Resource Center for the Ridgefield School District. And as I look around this room, there's so many of you that have helped us raise our boys. We've been here for 20 years. You've been involved in the Family Resource Center from the very beginning. You continue to pour in. So I apologize if this is information you already know, but it's a good reminder. Wendy and I talk about this all the time. We don't necessarily love getting up in front of people. That's not our nature, right? We like to stand behind and do and serve, but we realize how critical, how important this is. And so, with some of the new faces that I see too, I'm going to define what the Family Resource Center looks like. The one thing I will say, it's really important to note, our community always, and Wendy had experienced this because she's been here for so long, our community is always taking care of people, right? Always. Our faith-based community has, our schools have. I mean, we've always taken care of people who have had moments where they need food or whatever it is. So the structures that now are being put in place as we're growing, our need is off the charts. I don't want to diminish all the work that had to be done years ago to get to where we are now. And I think especially Neighbors Helping Neighbors, which is our local Clark County food bank, right? That Neighbors Helping Neighbors is critical to keep in Ridgefield. We realized in March 13, 2020 that day, right, that there was no way that one of our organizations, Compassion 360, the Family Resource Center with the school district, or Neighbors Helping Neighbors, that one of those could take everything on. So we triaged really. In that moment, and it doesn't mean that our lines are blurred. I will tell you that as a Family Resource Center is serving, our goal really is to remove barriers to education for our students. Right, that has looked very different in the last 4 years. So to be able to offer them opportunities to basic needs, and that's the bottom line. And so we serve our students and families now. Before the pandemic, there would be people that came from Battleground with kids that maybe we would serve. And so as we realized on March 13th, we had to triage. So we really quickly, I just really explained to our families, like, we have to serve those people that have students in the district. That's not to say that I will always sit with anybody. I mean, when Sean brings me someone from the library downtown that's maybe been sitting in their car, a senior citizen, for a couple days, I will always sit with somebody to make sure that they are receiving the best services that we can in Ridgefield. So with Compassion 360, serving what Wendy identified as the population that they're serving, with the students and their families, with the Family Resource Center, and Neighbors Helping Neighbors has their own population to serve. Those three places in our town are very critical. My hope is that we move forward and have even more services, that we're not always dipping into the other part of Clark County for those services. And I know Jen and I've talked a lot about this, and I know there's where we are now is so much better than where we were even 5 years ago. So So, as Wendy said, the Family Resource Center really was started by Compassion 360. It was a wonderful model for our community to have a nonprofit that had been faith-based to kind of partner with a school district to make that happen. It was a slow start. I was done, we've been here for 20 years now. I was done doing the PTA, PTO thing, right? And I wanted to do a little volunteering, so I started volunteering with Compassion 360 in the capacity of helping the counselors get the services that are the things that they needed to be able to serve their students. And out of that, our former superintendent, it just rolled. I mean, I think there was a position open. The first position that was open was 8 hours a week. And I applied for that job and I was able to get it. My background is in counseling. I was a counselor at Sprague High School in Oregon. I also worked in a lock treatment facility, so that is my heart. I didn't want to go back as a school counselor. I really wanted to be able to help. I love community and kind of help support families as far as the counseling team goes, but in a different capacity. So I am part of their district counseling team. I work very closely with our counselors in the building. We offer in our site, and I would really encourage if any of you have never been out there, we are in a portable that used to, whereas my boys had math, and if any of you have had kids in this district for a long time, right, this used to be the Cambridge Library. Those portables out there no longer can be used for classroom space through our last bonding, and so I was able to move in there. We moved around a couple different times, so we've got two side-by-side portables on the other side of the rack. And we offer a space for families to come in and drop in and shop 3 different times during the week. It is a space, like what Wendy talked about with Compassion 360, it really is a space for relationships. The pandemic messed that up a lot. We had to kind of move people through, but we are back to that. And it is a place where families can land. They can come and just kind of be validated in the challenging times that they're going through. They can get more resources than just our pantry. Our pantry is critical right now because a lot of families with the deduction in food benefits and with, y'all know when you go to the grocery store what that looks like. So it's critical that we keep people in their housing. And so I always tell people don't spend money on food until you come here first. Don't charge your food, right? If you know if you can't pay your credit card off, you're paying $5 for a loaf of bread, guess how much you're going to pay for that at the very end of it all. So that's kind of my mantra. I understand it's hard to humble yourself to ask for help, but that's kind of where we are. And so I do have a lot of traffic in our pantry. We also have a clothing area. We've got school supplies. We've got toiletries. Anyway, you can come and check it out and see kind of how we serve. And then we connect families to resources, whatever that resource is. Driver's ed right now is $675. It's a big ouch to your budget if you have a kid that needs to go to work and they need their license. So the foundation now has a scholarship for that. Medical resources, I could go on and on. How do I, like childcare, and it could be anything. There's no ask that is weird. Some people will say, I've got a weird ask. Like a portable heater, that is not a weird ask. I get a hold of Wendy and say, hey Wendy, what can we do about this? Diapers, anyway, the list can go on and on. We just try to meet people where they are with zero judgment and kind of help them move forward and stay in that home. Like Compassion 360, we have zero budget for what we do. So when you walk into that space, it's overwhelming. And I mean, I have the best job, hard job, but it is so amazing to watch what happens in there. This community pours in so that we can pour out. I can't explain it. I mean, just when I start to get worried about something walks in and I'm like, okay, however that goes, it is just astounding to me how people can be served in that moment. And it's emotional, and I know there's so many stories to tell what that looks like, but anyway, just trust me, it's spectacular. So with that, let's talk about numbers, which we're not excited we have all these numbers, y'all. We're not excited that people are going through their challenging time. What we are excited about is we can shoulder up with community and put an arm around a family and help them in their season. A grandma who has custody of her kids that just got diagnosed with a really pretty tragic cancer diagnosis, right? How are we going to help that family? That is hard to hear, but I'm excited that we can be able to support. So I'm going to throw some numbers out, and that's not just to make you go, oh, because I know you come to these meetings and you hear exciting things, different things that are going on with businesses and community, right? There's so many great things that are going on in community. that we get to see every day. But right now, like I said, I've been here for 20 years. When I first started this job, we maybe had 20 homeless youth, maybe 15 to 20. Right now, as of today, I had 2 more yesterday. We're sitting at 112 homeless youth. In addition to 14 youth that are considered unaccompanied youth. And what that looks like in our view in education is that as a kid whose parents are either incarcerated, took off, I don't know, there's all the stories, right? They are sofa surfing and living with other friends, they don't have guardians. That, one, right, is too much. But when as I think about that, I start to sweat and my emotions are getting in front of my words. But those are real numbers, okay? We are serving students through our counselors. We have care closets at all the schools outside of Union Ridge because counselors can come over. We have care closets at the school so that counselors can go to the care closet, grab like a meal or whatever it is, right? Underwear, socks, toothbrush, toothpaste, whatever they can grab out of that care closet to serve the family that's right there in that moment. So we're stocking that care closet. We're serving about 100 students. We think our data's not that great this year because we're just so busy, but about 100 students per week at least in the schools. We have weekend food bags. We've got an amazing partnership with the Methodist Church on Hillhurst. They've always done our weekend food bags. I think we're up to almost 100 of those food bags. So there's those that are being served through the counselors at building. We are serving out of the Family Resource Center. We're serving about 60 to 70 families per week. The holidays amp that up to a number that I haven't even looked at yet. And that equates to almost 280 individuals per week through that space. That space is not meant for that, but we make it, thankfully we can all be crammed in there, so that's so that's numbers. Partnerships. There's so many, and as I look out here, I'm not going to list them all off, but our core partnerships are Compassion 360, because when people donate to the Family Resource Center, it falls under the school district, and with my line item budget there, I can use that money on things like shoes for a homeless youth, or food, or any kind of specific barrier to education. I cannot use it on utilities, I can't use it on housing stability grants. That's when I refer to Wendy, and we work together to make that happen. So Compassion 360, like Wendy had mentioned, is one of our core partnerships. We also have a nonprofit that was started in town called the Gleaners. And the Gleaners are a wonderful group of people that purchase produce every week for the Family Resource Center and then glean from gardens, especially, that's a seasonal thing in the summer months. And so that produce comes to the Family Resource Center. When I walk in on Monday, it's so cool. I get to see like what they've shopped for. My fridge is full of produce and the counter's full, and it's just amazing. We are reliant on that produce. Also, if you see Tide's Green Bag program in town, Bill Bauman is somebody that started that about 9-ish years ago. Green Bag Food Drive is different neighborhoods within Ridgefield collect food, and that food is collected every other month on the second Saturday. That food is split between the Family Resource Center and Neighbors Helping Neighbors. Wendy is not, Compassion 360 does not receive any of that food at this time. We are 100% reliant on that food. If we did not have that food, we would not have a pantry. We wouldn't. That food used to last us those 8 weeks. Really, right now, it's lasting about 6 weeks. So it went from, I got numbers from Bill for this. In 2023, they gathered for the Family Resource Center, just for the Family Resource Center, about almost 24,000 pounds of food. So Neighbors Helping Neighbors got that much too, right? So 24,000 pounds of food. When Green Bag was first started, and I remember back in the day, we were, hold on, weren't we, Clyde? Back in the day. Thinking, I am so grateful for 1 can of chili. So just to say, we maybe had 300 pounds of food. So that just shows in the amount of time what the need is and how generous our community is. It's pretty astounding. Other thing about our, community partnerships, again, like I've looked around this room, all of you, most of you have your hands in what we do, and I appreciate that at the level. Everyone has their own gift in how they want to give, and I love that. I love when a new business comes into town, and I'm the last to find out they've done a drive for us. It's wonderful. Unify actually even emailed me and said, hey, we have a little bit of money there. We did something over the holidays, and they're going to bring it tomorrow. I love that now. Like we've established ourselves to know, people know that we can only do what we're doing if the community's pouring in. Our school populations, the National Honor Societies, all the little clubs, the DECA Club, the Thespian Club at the high school, they do drives for us all the time. They own what we do, and a lot of those students are served through us, so they will do drives like dental drives or cereal drives or you name it, they'll do it to make sure that we have what we need. I think that's pretty much it. I mean, that's, like I said, I could go on and on and on. We do have seasonal things that Winnie talked about with Compassion 360. We have the back to school bash where we're serving. I do this small event at Christmas time. I was able to still do it only because of my volunteers and some different businesses in town. Shop for Family. We were able to get 100 kids through there to be able to grab some things for their family members for Christmas. And that was one thing when we first started the Family Resource Center. How that came about was a family that had moved here out of town. And in the United States of America, they had never celebrated Christmas because their parents couldn't afford it. In the United States of America, they had never celebrated Christmas because their parents couldn't afford it. So they would go to church knowing it was Christmas, but they didn't have any kind of celebration, no special food, nothing, right? They didn't even know it was a thing until they moved to Ridgefield. And so when those kids were shopping, I still remember back, we were small potatoes, we were in a portable. They kept asking me, Chris, we can't afford this. I said, just grab a scarf for your mom already, just grab a scarf for your mom. Let's wrap it up. I mean, we did cookies and the whole thing back then. We don't do that anymore. So that's where it came from, and those are the families that we're serving. It is the families that I know their backgrounds, and I know how special it is for a student to be able to get something for a family member, a brother, sister, grandma, whoever. And then we're reliant on, there's a small group that helps us with Thanksgiving boxes. They work really closely with the Family Resource Center, the counselors to identify students who could use some Thanksgiving food boxes. They cap out at 75, and we had 75 families who were served through this community group. And then what was wonderful was Winnie with Compassion 360, the night after that, they did their drive-through. So families that had been, weren't able to get on our list of 75 or had missed it or all of a sudden thought about Thanksgiving, we could send over and they could do the drive-through and grab a box. That has worked out that has worked out great. And with the addition of the line support this year and getting that, we doubled those boxes, right, I think? Yeah. I think was it doubled?
Not quite.
Not quite, almost doubled. Yeah, so it's just crazy to think about. Yeah, and so there we are. I wanted to be able to offer time for questions, concerns. Oh, I know the other thing is just to watch, I thought about this over the holidays. So the beauty of Compassion 360, Neighbors Helping Neighbors, and the Family Resource Center is that community gets to give. And there's this act of giving and kindness that is critical for our bodies, for who we are as human beings. And so we are kind of this conduit that you can be able to give as a community member. Sometimes you're like, oh, I want to go give a backpack to a student. Great. You don't know those students, right, that need the backpack, but we do. And so it's great to be able to give to us so that we can ensure that those families get it. We don't know every family in need. I'm here to tell you there's people sitting in $2 million homes right now that don't know how they're going to feed their kids. And they cannot humble themselves to be able to come in and say, Chris, this is rough. I love when people can be able to do that. I can't make that easy for anyone, so I don't know how to do that. But what I do love is that when families have gone through their seasons and they get to give back. So that's what I get to see, and that is what's beautiful. A family maybe this last Christmas who decided they've never had a moment where they weren't worried about where their food came from. Their kids decided they only wanted one gift for Christmas, and they went out and shopped for new gifts for kids for the Family Resource Center, or new socks for things from Family Resource Center. So we didn't only get things that people might take to Goodwill. We were given things that were brand new for people to enjoy. So that's the wonderful part, and the piece of giving that we get to see, this wonderful piece of our community that nobody else gets to see. We get to see everybody that is challenged and how that circle happened, so anyway.
One thing I'd like to do is, again, allow you time to ask questions. And maybe to start that question and answer, I always want to know, what do you guys worry about? What keeps you awake at night when it comes to worrying about Ridgefield? I know that I have my small list of what I worry about for the future of, and I'm not talking about growth and sustaining business, I'm talking about the pockets of poverty that are here. What is it that worries you the most that you don't think these local charities are providing and should be thinking about? So that's one thing I'm asking, but we're also really interested in understanding your questions.
Yes.
Yes.
Offer some. So, reading a book about social connections, and people are less connected to their neighbors than they were decades ago. You don't know everybody on your block. Maybe you know the person on each side of your house. And where that comes in, as you mentioned, how many people are one paycheck away from being homeless, 2 paychecks away? We're fragile, and there's a lot of talk about resiliency these days, but there's so many folks sitting on the edge, and what does it take to disrupt our systems if it's a recession or a disaster or something? So, about that.
Yeah, it is so true, right? Those connections, and what it takes is really an uncomfortable step out of our shell, doesn't it? Yeah, it really takes that moment to be able to look somebody in the eye and go, how's your day going? Or to be able to say hello when you walk through the door. The stories that we hear about that
Well, I can share with you one of the things on my worry list along that is because there are people that are on the verge. They're right there. They're the paycheck away from disaster. I worry that, like our housing and utility grant program, it's not as well funded as I would like to going into 2024. And a lot of our requests came in the last quarter. So in fact, we went over budget in providing housing stability to people in October, November, and December. And I'm worried that we're going to continue to go in that, and I'm going to spend all the money I have targeted for 2024 in the first half or even shorter time. But when the money's gone, it's gone. So come August, I'm going to have to say, I'm so sorry, but we don't have any money. Because that's what St. Vincent's de Paul, the housing hotline, all those guys, they just say, sorry, we don't have any money, So that's on my worry list. So, and I think it's just going to continue to get, to grow. So.
So you guys touched on 2 things that are really near and dear to my heart. When you mentioned foster kids that you work with, and Chris, you were talking about homeless youth, and you didn't specifically call it out, but youth that are heads of households, which I think is a scary thing. And I think you're 2 very amazing women who are extremely humble, because within our community, within our county, the services that are available for homeless youth are severely lacking. And in particular, for a number of reasons, one, it's hard to get trained professionals right now. The pipeline just is very tight and almost non-existent. And so you may have money to fund these positions to help homeless youth, but you just can't get the right people in the jobs. And there's also lacking in, the bed space for unaccompanied youth. You have to almost go to Portland for that. That's just not realistic if you live in Clark County. And so the work that you guys are doing, I don't think people realize if you weren't doing what you were doing, there would be nothing. Where would they even go? It's not like you're just going to go out of Vancouver. It doesn't really exist in Vancouver. So I just want to thank you for what you're doing. And it's pretty scary that as a county-wide that we don't have these services available for the youth that you guys are helping. And so thank you for what you're doing.
Yeah. Well, and Jen, I can say this too, right? Thank you for having ears that listen. It's, there's very few things that make me mad. Ask my husband. There are some things. And in my job, there's very few things. But that, and before break, even with our victims of domestic violence, and that anger, I understand the system doesn't have the qualified people in the system to be able to do what they need to do. I understand all that. But it just angers me. I don't understand how I can have a Section 8 housing, somebody who's in Section 8 housing, lose their housing and become homeless. They're already in the system we want. I mean, it takes forever to get in Section 8. I don't understand how that can happen. And then you disperse those families, those youth then, some of them then end up unaccompanied. How does that happen? Anyway, so yes, I hear, yes. So thank you for being at that's what we need, people at the tables who can voice it. North County is, I mean, all of Clark County, but North County is desperately needing services. Yeah. Oh boy, you guys. Okay, sorry. We'll go like this. Okay. All right, sorry.
So as I go out into the public,
Yeah, yeah.
what would I look for the senior citizens that say that had in trouble and they have pets?
Yeah.
How would I find them?
Well, I know them, because they come to our charity. And boy, they love that dog food or cat food. A lot of them have cats. So, I mean, confidentiality, I can't like hand it, well, actually, we don't ask, people that come to our charity, we only ask their first name so we can call the next person that's in line, and they can make up a name. And we ask them what zip code they live in, so we are clear who we're serving. So I don't even know their names,
But I
but
mean, how would we go, what would I look for that would say, oh, maybe I should let these people know about you?
well, I think that it's just all about making connections. I mean, that's how I do it. I mean, people come in, I'm not asking them 50 million questions, but but hey, how are you doing? It's so good to see you. Or maybe they were there the week before and I remember seeing them and I just go, hey, how was your week? Thanks for coming back. And, we just strike up conversations and then, come to, like this one lady, she had like 4 coats on and I go, oh, it is kind of a cold. She goes, oh yeah, well, I don't have any heat in my house. It's like, whoa, okay, let's fix that. So, it's just making connections. So if you're walking around and you see a older person, walking a pet, strike up a conversation. You never know where that just friendly, conversation might lead to awareness. So.
And it is hard, I will say. We are in a nation that we are very aesthetic, right? So I hate to say this, we like to see need. We like to see need. We see need as when we drive into Portland along I-5 and we see that as need. I'm here to tell you, those aren't the people that Wendy and I are serving. We are serving a whole different need. It's behind closed doors. It's behind a Mercedes that might be driving down the street. It could be somebody that's in the grocery store using their Visa card for food and it's their last little bit of money. So what Wendy's talking about, like those relationships are so critical. There's not really, I hate to even, need looks very different in the United States of America. It's not what we think it looks like. People drive into Ridgefield, they're like, what do you mean there's a need here? Why do you need a family resource center? Are you kidding? We get to know those stories, and it's because we're building relationships. But I will see in larger groups, you can just share it. You don't have to look for the person in need. You just share out like this, right? You just share it. You share information about what we're doing.
This gentleman talked about getting to know your neighbors.
Yeah.
We gave Thanksgiving boxes out to people that didn't need the box.
Yeah.
But in their neighborhood, they knew that lady that lived 4 doors down is a single mom, and they just knew. So they came, got a box, and they dropped that box on that doorstep. And I hear from those people back. It's like, wow, I got this box. I don't know where it came from, but this was the first time I've been able to actually cook a Thanksgiving meal for my family. And I don't know where they got the box, but I'm assuming one of their neighbors came and got one. So it's just about making connections with your neighbors. Know who they are. Even if you live in a super, nice upscale neighborhood, that doesn't mean that the people that live a couple doors down aren't really struggling. So.
Sorry.
I was just going to say thanks for sharing what you guys do. And do you guys ever look for volunteers? I don't know if you mentioned that, but I think what I love about living in this community is just real special. And I make it a point of really communicating with my neighbors because it's like I grew up in a different state. And we had such a sense of community in our neighborhood, and I try to bring it to my neighborhood. And I love living here. Absolutely love living here. So if you ever need volunteers or anything, I'd be happy to help out.
Yeah, and I would say, so I did bring my cards over here. There's some information on my table, just a flyer. So I'd be happy to meet with you and kind of talk about what that could look like.
Sure.
Yeah, and we definitely have, our need for volunteers will be like kind of ebbs and flows as
Sure.
far as what, but there are some great places that even other than what Wendy and I do to volunteer too, so
Sure.
yeah, I would love that. Sorry, go ahead.
Yes, so you both mentioned the stories that you've heard over the years. I can just imagine how hard that must be and the uncertainty of funds and having to say no to somebody who's in desperate need. My question is, are there any resources available to the two of you to avoid burnout and just process all of this stuff that must be so incredibly hard year after year?
Thank you, that's so sweet. Yeah, we've talked a lot about that. And I will say, even as a district counseling team, it's called, secondary trauma is what we used to call it. Vicarious trauma is what you call it now, right? So yes, we are working, Wendy and I do, which we haven't been able to since before break, or before the holidays. We do try to just touch base and kind of bleh to each other, I'll be honest. We do have a chaplain that is out of the Nazarene Church that is trained in crisis response, and we both have been trained under her to help community. We do have that.
She likes to meet with us once a quarter to
Yeah.
check in and make
Yeah.
sure we're doing okay.
Yeah.
I mean, the only thing that I can say is that, like, the week between Christmas and New Year's, Chris and I both tried to take the time off. That's really a bad idea, because Chris took the time off, and I said, okay, I'll deal with anything that comes. So, I'm on vacation, but I dealt with at least 2 crises that came through the Family Resource Center, because, when they're closed, they're like closed. There's nobody that answers the phone, there's nothing. So I know that I gave a housing stipend to somebody on December 30th, and I actually had to have her come to my house to pick up the check, because there was no place that was open that I could actually sit down and give her the money. So, you burn out. Chris and I try not to take the same vacations so we can kind of be on call, so to speak, for each other, but it's not always feasible. But yeah, we're pretty strong women.
It's daunting though. I've been in this field for a long time. I took that break to be with my boys, but this is like back when I worked in lockup or even in the schools as a high school counselor. This is something else, yeah. And so, but it is a conversation that we have, the two of us have. I have the benefit of being an employee of the school district, and so it is a conversation that OSPR, our mandating governing board, is really focused on too now. So it is a conversation finally to have, yeah.
And the community board that manages, that is my boss, so to speak, of the charity board. Members of that board, they check in with me frequently, and they're able to step in and fill something if I just need to step away, and so we understand that we both are needed in this community, and we do take steps to make sure that we take care of our own mental health. So, but I just really appreciate you asking and actually acknowledging that.
Yeah, I do too. Yeah.
As individuals or businesses in the community looking to kind of provide support in Q1, what are your guys' needs, the biggest needs right now just for Q1, just the first quarter of the year?
Well, I'm always looking for donations to our Housing Stability Fund. Again, that's the one thing that I was hoping going into 2024 I would have better funded. What I always think that I get a little bit frustrated during the time that we're getting ready to do the back to school event. Again, we partner with the farmers market. Julie's here, I see she just walked in, and that partnership has been amazing. And what we always try to do is to get businesses to provide a service for kids. This is an amazing marketing event for you if you own especially a downtown business. And even if you don't sell goods that are appropriate for kids, if you will provide, like, I got a dentist to do a booth this year and gave out free toothbrushes. kids love that, you know, they're getting ready to go back to school. I mean, any kid-friendly thing, and then we will pay, Compassion 360 will pay your booth fee if you'll do something that's kid appropriate. So you get the advertising of having a free booth at the farmer's market, and provide an amazing service to our community for that event. And I should mention though that we will pay your booth fee, but I don't think Julie's ever charged me for any booth fees at the end. But I always say that just because I don't want people to have a perspective that they have to pay a booth fee. So, I mean, come time when we're doing those activities, I mean, I just wish that the whole community's businesses would show up in droves and support the kids going back to school, because these parents, and they get desperate, the parents